It can be confusing and intimidating getting into the world of Spey. And not just any rod will do. If you get the right rod, you'll minimize frustration out on the water, learn the casts, and enjoy fishing the two-hander. If you get the wrong rod, you'll try it a few times, get frustrated, and then put it in the closet. Or worse, give it to your fishing buddy thinking that it's you and not the rod. I'd say the most common question that I get is, what rod should I start with? A switch rod or a Spey rod? I'm not sure why this question is always so common about switch rods, but I consider a switch rod anything under 12 feet in length. Anything longer than that, Spey rod. So here's the thing about switch rods. They were originally marketed as like these kind of do everything rod. You could single hand cast them, Spey cast them, and because they were shorter than a Spey rod and nice and light. But I mean, is there really anything that you can just do everything with? Just not well. When people are starting off Spey casting, I don't think that they should start with a switch rod, and this is why. From teaching Spey anglers and guiding, the problem I see with switch rods is because they're short and light, anglers in the cast, they want to put a lot of top hand into it. They're used to the muscle memory of that single hand cast. The longer rod, that 12 and a half, 13 and a half foot rod, it forces you to drive that power and lead that cast with that bottom hand, which is going to help you learn and develop proper Spey casting. So are switch rods useful? Absolutely. Should it be your first rod? Absolutely not. Okay, let's get in the studio and talk through a little bit more specifics about which Spey rod should be your first rod. Let's talk through some details about picking your first Spey rod. Real quick, I was on the river casting, turned the camera off, put the camera back in my backpack. I'm like, I have a couple minutes. Fourth cast, I hooked the steelhead and landed it. Couldn't believe it. I should have had the camera rolling. Okay, so let's get you dialed in on picking out your first Spey rod. Now, fly line manufacturing has been radically transformed over the last, 15, 20 years. And so the lines that manufacturers can actually design and produce today is so different than 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And so you might be tempted to go pick up your first rod and look on eBay. You might see some old Sage rod. It's probably gonna be like a 14-foot 9-weight or a 15-footer or something like that. Those rods were designed around the limitations of lines they had at the time. So they really don't shine like these new rods. Even an import rod from today will probably cast better than one of those old USA made rods. Like, for example, like a Redington Claymore or even a Redington Dooley or something like that. So with the ability to create these shorter Spey lines, the rods have been able to get shorter. And so this is one of the reasons why there's been popularity about switch rods. Now, if you're gonna go fish the Clearwater in Idaho or the Skagit in Washington, then yeah, you're gonna want a big rod. A 14-footer is great for those rivers. You could stand out there with a 15-foot rod and feel like it's not enough rod. I mean, your shoulders might argue differently, but those are just really big rivers, and long rods are perfectly at home on them. But those are not going to be the norm. So for winter steelhead season here in Washington, the rods that I consistently have in my boat, a 13-foot 7-weight, a 12.5-foot 8-weight, a 13.5-foot 8-weight, and an 11.5-foot 8-weight, the only switch rod in the boat. And I will say that rod it's actually the rod that I was fishing in the video that I hooked the fish on, but that rod gets fished less than any of the other rods. The 13-foot 7-weight is probably the rod that gets fished the most. So if you're looking for a rod more for summer run, fall steelhead, you're probably gonna want a 5 or 6 weight, maybe a 7, in the 12.5 up to 14-foot range. A 12.5, 5 would be on the lighter side. Great for like the Grand Ron, Met How type of like smaller fish that we get. A 13 or 13.5, 13.5, 6, 13.5, 7. Those are great rods for rivers like the Deschutes, for example. So if you're looking for a rod for the winter, a 12.5 to 13.5, 7 or 8 weight is going to be a great rod for throwing heavy sink tips and big flies. Okay, so when do I actually use a switch rod? Well, I already said that not very often. The times I use switch rods are when I'm usually fishing on upper stretches of river that are smaller with overhanging branches, and so I'm trying to keep that rod tip underneath the branches, or I'm using it in really more tactical situations that is requiring a closer cast and not a lot of line. Especially fishing around structure, whether it's fishing around like root wads and boulder gardens and stuff like that. But I really don't fish the switch rod that often. And when I do, I'm always spey casting it. Starting with that 12.5 to 13.5 foot rod is going to be great for developing the cast, bringing that bottom hand into the equation, which is essential. And the switch rod, you're going to want to push it with that top hand too much, and it's going to really frustrate you in learning the cast. So find yourself a 12.5 to 13.5 foot rod. Start learning how to spey cast. You'll love it. We would love to help. We do spey casting lessons. We do spey trips. We also have spey rods available through our store. You can shop them in the descriptions down below. Please comment and ask any questions. We want to help you guys out as you're getting into the world of spey. Thanks.